So for the rest of Papua New Guinea, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
A little bit about myself and what I do. All right, so I'm Aidan. I guess a little bit about myself. Born and raised here in Port Moresby. My dad is half Hanawabara, Fiji, and my mum is half Hula, half Austrian. Born here, went to school, primary school here. Was lucky enough to go down to boarding school in Brisbane, where I did school there for 5 years. And then I was very fortunate. It was when I went to boarding school, I was introduced to the game of rugby union. And I was fortunate to pick up a contract with the Queensland Reds straight after that, straight out of school, where I spent 5 years there. They weren't the best 5 years in terms of playing rugby. I suffered a lot of injury, and there was a lot of tough times that I went through, but I look at them and they were probably the most valuable in terms of learning about myself, learning different skills and all of that. Anyway, from the Reds, I went to France for a year, came back to the Brumbies for a couple of years, ended up in Japan for 3. Like a whole lot of other people, COVID made everyone rethink their plans.
Right, yeah.
Yep, so I was in Japan when COVID hit, moved back to Brisbane with my wife and 3 kids at the time. And then made the decision then and there that it was time for something else. So I spent a year sort of figuring things out. Got the opportunity with Ruswin up here in Port Moresby. And then me and the family decided to come up at the beginning of last year. And so my wife is Australian, Rebecca. I've got 4 young kids, Matilda, Layla, Sunny, and Hallie. And we're all up here now. And the last 2 years up here has been nothing short of just fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you do at Ruswin?
So at Ruswin, I'm the business development manager.
Right.
It's a great company.
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't know anything about them before I moved back, and the opportunity sort of just it came up out of the blue. But I'm really glad that the GM Kevin and the owners who live in Townsville, they were sort of they approached me and we all thought I was a good fit. And mate, they're a great company. They do sort of electronic security, audio visual stuff. And it's been a great 2 years, learning about Ruswin, learning about being back in Papua New Guinea.
Yeah. How's the family fitting in?
Family is going really well. The first year was tough.
Yeah.
For the kids, new school, obviously new country and all of that. But this second year has been really good. Really good. Everyone's a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
We've got a really good group of friends. And my wife's enjoying it. It's definitely got its restrictions living up here.
Yeah.
But it's home. It's home. It was important for me. Finishing up with rugby, coming back home was always part of the plan. Bringing the family here.
Yeah.
Really, I guess, showing my kids.
Where you're from?
Showing them the heritage.
Yeah.
So they can see it, so they can feel it, and they can really, I guess, identify with it.
True. But there's a lot to unpack the rugby side of things. First off, Reds, a huge fan. Brumbies,
Yeah.
yes, even better fan. Take us to the times when you got COVID hit and you came here, like that shift of
Going from rugby into
your personal life. What was that like?
I mean, you don't really know what to expect. I mean, you read things and you hear from different people. And so that transition from being a rugby player and then moving into, I guess, the next chapter of your life, right? It is really difficult because rugby was all I knew as an adult. And it was all that I had to do, right? I was so fortunate to be able to make a living out of it. Me and my family got to travel, go to cool parts of the world where we got to live and experience different cultures. And so forever grateful for it. But moving into, I guess, the corporate world. And the hardest thing, Matthias, was you know, I compare myself to my friends, right? We finish school together. They all go straight into university, you know, or the normal, I guess, the normal pathway, right?
Yeah, normal pathway, yeah.
Finish school, you go to uni for 4 years, you get your degree, you start at a firm, you build up your experience there.
Yeah.
You know, 4 or 5 years in whatever industry that you're a part of, and then you grow up the ranks, and you know. And so a lot of my friends were, I guess, early 30s. You know, they'd been working for 10 years.
True.
Built up all this specific industry knowledge, and they were all, you know, whether it was investment banking, it was corporate finance, it was running their own building companies, or, you know, they'd set themselves up. Whereas in rugby, you sort of, you know, you're so focused on your rugby career, and, you know, you're going contract to contract. And they're normally 2 years, and so you're focused on, all right, these next 2 years, these next 2 years, these next 2 years. I did study in the background. It took me 10 years to get my degree, but I did eventually get that. But you're just so focused, and then when you retire, all you've known is rugby, right? And then so I went through this, I guess I went on this journey of looking back, and you got to pull out all the little different things that you've learned throughout your rugby career. Yeah. Right? Because you got to put a CV together.
Yeah, true.
You know, and now, oh shit, I got to enter the workforce. And what does this even look like? You know, and you start to write your CV and you go, well, I've got no work experience, no real life work experience, but you do. You've got so much experience, right? So much real world experience. The things, you know, that there are those things that you can pull out as an athlete, you know, being resilient. Being punctual, being goal-orientated, determined. You know, there are all these words that you can use, and all these skills that you pick up.
Yep.
And I guess, and one of the big things I think, being in that high-performance environment, and it's being in those high-performance environment, and just the different. It's you know, in a rugby team, we had a group of 45 people, plus our coaches, plus our support staff, plus the management. You know, so there's a whole array of different people who are all working towards the Reds winning the premiership, right? So we're all working towards the same goal. Yeah. So you got to work hard to, and there's so many different personalities, so many different groups, so you got to work hard to bring them all together and align to reach the same goal. True. And so, you know, you take a step back and you just think, man, I've learned all these skills. And you think about all the different leaders, the coaches, the captains, the strong personalities within your team, and it's like, okay, how did the leaders work with the unique personalities to, for example, for us to win the premiership in 2011, for the Reds to win that in 2011. And you take out all those skills. And so I think the lessons that I learned in professional sport, in those high performance environments, they are the most, well, they were the, I guess they were the skills that I believe were sort of most valuable that I had learned from that environment that I could then apply into different, into the corporate world. Yeah, correct. Moving forward. Because I moved into, you know, my the work here up here with Ruswin. And, you know, you're so used to having this group of people who are so determined and so dedicated and so hell-bent on achieving your goal for that year. But then I come into the real world, into the corporate world, and it's so different. Everyone's doing their own thing. You know, no one's talking to each other. And it's so interesting. And so one of the big things that I feel like that I've brought to Ruswin was it's the open communication. It's trying to get everyone on the same page for us to be able to achieve our goal at the end of the year. So that the transition from rugby into this next chapter, it's been tough. It's been difficult, 100%. But it's been a fantastic learning experience, and I've learned so much of myself over the last 3 years. And I think finally, you know, I'm getting the hang of things. And it's been really unstable, and it's hard, you know, because I've got 4 kids and a wife, and I've got to look after them. So you got to figure it out quick. because I spent 12 months after I retired, 12 months without a job.
Wow.
Right? I've got a house in Brisbane. You know, I've got mortgages. I've got mouths to feed. And so it's like, it gets stressful at times. Like, man, I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. How am I going to look after everyone? But everything's worked out pretty well for the moment.
Yeah. How are you finding it so far? Like, in terms of climbing the corporate ladder, do you think you're settling into the role?
Look, I don't like that term, climbing the corporate ladder.
Okay.
And it's definitely something I don't intend to do. I think being in this environment, and PNG, it's such a unique place. Look, and I love being back home. I love learning this experience in the business world here, in the corporate world here, and I'm still very much a rookie, right? And particularly up here, where things are done a lot differently. A lot differently. People play by different rules up here. And so it's you got to be open-minded enough to, just go with the flow a bit. And yeah, it has been one hell of a learning experience.
What was your biggest takeaway
From
like switching from sports to now working? What's the biggest lesson you learned?
Oh, that's a good question. Look, I think it's just, I touched on it before, being open-minded, not being too fixed on how things are going to turn out. And I think being a rugby player actually helped me with that. I went through a hell of a lot of injuries. You lose contracts. You got to deal with that, the uncertainty of, the next 3 months or whatever it might be. And so being able to just keep moving forward when things aren't so clear, and I think is a skill that I've developed. But in terms of the biggest takeaway, I think just, being, one of the things actually is being vulnerable and open enough to go and talk to people, and let them know,
that you're
just
struggling.
being on it, how you're feeling, and talking to people. I think the whole networking side of things, talking to people in different industries. I never imagined that I'd be in the electronic security or industry at all. And so you talk to different people, what their experiences are like. When I did retire, I reached out to a whole heap of retired rugby players as well, to talk about what the transition was like for them, what they did to get through it.
What did you find out? What was the comment?
The big thing is just talking to people. Talking to people, because we all, everyone goes through the same things. And I think one of our big challenges as men, particularly, is you want to try to figure it out yourself.
Yeah, true.
I'm going to do this myself. I'm a big man. I don't need help from anyone. But the more people that I spoke to, the more comfortable that I felt. And then you can start to, you get different bits of information from everyone, and you put it all together, and then you can start to, put together some sort of a plan in terms of how you're going to move forward.
Small steps.
Yeah, and so I think that open communication, and just that networking side of things really helped with my transition.
What would you say and it's a little bit personal here. If you don't have to answer it if you don't. But your relationship with your family, has it strengthened over that challenging time?
Yeah, man, 100%. 100%. I mean, I am unbelievably lucky to have found my wife now. We've been together since we were 18. And just that person and it's just been unwavering support throughout everything, right? She understands it. I mean, I can't imagine that. It definitely hasn't been easy. And I think about her, she had her own plans. She was doing a double degree in exercise science and dietetics before we left Brisbane. And then, I signed a contract in France. She was like, yeah, I'll go to France with you. We went there. She was pregnant. She had our first daughter in France. And then we moved to Canberra. Our second daughter was born in Canberra. Then we moved to Japan. So she's moving all around the place with my rugby career, with these two little kids, away from family, away from everyone. And so sort of retiring, COVID hit, we went back to Brisbane. And then I think having that stability with her family around was one of the contributing factors to retiring as well. Because it was like, all right, my career has dominated so many of the decisions over the last 10 years. Let's start thinking about, you and the kids and what's best for you guys.
Sure.
But that, and then going through that initial transition from being a rugby player to not being a rugby player, was difficult as well. And I think our relationship now is probably the strongest that it's ever been, because I was really open with her in terms of how I felt, how do I get through this? And when I guess broke down that barrier and opened the conversation up, she was really able to help me figure out what was going on. And, we had really confronting discussions, but, at the end of the day,
you figure it out.
They needed to be had in order to move forward.
It's good. It should be talked about more, but isn't. What is the topic here in PNG? Just generic, like.
God, that is a very open question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something that should be talked about more that isn't. Look, I might change it a little bit. I don't know whether it should be talked about more, but I guess something that I'm super passionate about
is it on? Sorry, bro. Just check one.
Well, I can see myself here.
Is it recording? Like blink recording?
It's not
red.
Red. I can see red, but it's not blinking.
Nah, it's recording.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you, man.
All good.
Continue.
I guess something that I'm passionate about is our youth in PNG, and how we can engage with them better.
Yeah.
And how we can motivate them and empower them to be, I guess, better contributing members of our society. I see a huge issue at the moment. Obviously unemployment's quite high. And, from what I'm seeing is a lot of the little petty crime, youth, the gangs, and all that unsettling in our communities is, the majority of it is done by our youth.
Yeah.
One of the issues is, it's idle youth. It's them not, they're not going to school, or they don't have jobs. And I think one of the biggest things is they don't have role models. They don't have people that they look up to, that they go, man, I want to be this guy when I grow up, right? They don't have them in their communities and those people probably exist. They don't see them every day, and I don't know. I haven't done enough research or talks, or haven't looked in it deep enough. But I think one of the things that they're struggling with is this whole idea of the sense of belonging.
True.
Right? Most of them probably don't have parents, or they do, but
they're absent.
They're absent parents, and so where do they find that sense of belonging? In gangs, because they probably got such low self-esteem. They're not educated. They're not this. They're not that. They don't feel like they've got anything positive to contribute. So a gang who commits crime and whatever, the barrier to entry is so low. And that they're always going to be accepting of you if you come and participate in their activities that they're participating in. And so these kids, they're feeling, okay, this is where my group is. These are the people that accept me. So I'm going to join them and do whatever they're doing. And so, and I think a fantastic vehicle to be able to help address some of these issues is sport. And I've seen the power that sport can have in communities in terms of bringing people together. One of the current competitions, the ones on this week, is the Firelight Sevens that the MBB Marlins is an initiative that they've started, and this is going to be the third leg this weekend, and it has the popularity, like, I think it's gone above and beyond in terms of what they thought, the numbers and the people who were interested in it. And so, and for me, like, that is just case in point there on how much of an impact sport can have in a community. And the thing with Papua New Guineans, I mean, like, we all love to play sport.
Yeah.
We all want to be active. We all want to, and so these kids are finding their sense of belonging in these gangs. But I feel like they could just as easily find that belonging in the community in sports teams. I'm not saying that they got to be successful professional sports teams, but it's just any sort of sports teams. We don't have enough sports for our youth at the moment in Papua New Guinea. There aren't. No structured competition for them. I look at the CRU competition, it starts at under 20s. It's like, okay, well, what about all the other kids?
Yeah.
There's no real structured school competitions.
No.
For rugby.
There's not many
and so, the last 8 weeks, I, through the help of Money Plus, who sponsored it, we ran a junior rugby program through Money Plus and Capital Rugby.
Yep.
We had about, on average, 100 kids each weekend come down, and between the ages of 11, 16, and they loved it. And at the end of the 7 weeks of training and learning, we had we had games for them. So the 11 and 12-year-old just played touch, two-hand touch. They had a little bit of tackle at the end. And then the 13, 14 and the 15, 16s, they played a full field game of 10 on 10 and 13 on 13 rugby union. And it was, we had a referee there, the parents were there watching, and the kids loved it. And you can just, the whole 8 weeks, they're so eager to learn, right? And they want an opportunity. They want something to put all their energy into. And so, I take that little example. I look at what the Firelight Sevens is doing. The recent announcement of the NRL team coming in 2028, I think is just a massively positive thing for our country.
Oh, great, because I was going to ask you about your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, well, I just gave you my opinion.
Yeah, it's good.
I think it's only a good thing. And people are going to have differing opinions, right? There's that whole security aspect to it. Australian taxpayers' money, it is what it is. The fact that we will get an NRL team, whether they can be sustainable after the 10 years, I'm not sure. We've got to get that commercial side of things right. Yeah. But, we talk about our kids having something to aim for, right? And on the back of having an NRL team, the PNG Rugby League, they've already invested in all these academies and these pathways. Already, they've got them the centres set up all around the country. And I guess the challenge is for other sports, right? Because, and I've spoken to rugby union guys about this. I'm like, rugby league have invested so much money and time, and they're identifying these kids at 13, 14 years old, and getting them into the pathway. But at the end of the day, the funnel goes like this.
Yep.
And there are kids that are going to spray out over the sides. And rugby union, AFL, all these other sports, you got to be ready. Because you're going to have these 15, 16-year-old kids who have trained for 3 or 4 years. They've already got all these good learning and this foundation built. Imagine rugby union, we had sevens, we were back on the seven circuit. We were participating in World Series circuits around the world. If you're a 16, 17-year-old Papua New Guinean and you're looking, you're like, damn, these guys are going to Dubai, these guys are going to South Africa. Yeah, okay, maybe I should go and try that. And be ready for that. So, it's about building that pathway. But yeah, in terms of that 2028 NRL team, and look, and from what I'm hearing is a whole heap of money is going to be invested in education, health, and look, there are a whole heap of positive, transformative things that I think can come from having this NRL team. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah, good. I think it's just people having negative associations with it just based on their own personal opinion. I mean, people are, they should have their opinion.
Yeah. I mean, people will have their opinion, Matthias. And I think one thing here that I've sort of observed is a lot of the opinions are negative. All we want to do is just criticize, right? And I don't blame them because the majority of things that we see in social media or in the paper is our politicians.
Yeah.
Right? And there's just, I guess there's a lack of transparency, there's a lack
There
of
is.
accountability, there's, all these words, but no,
Nothing to show
no
for
follow
it.
through, nothing to show for it. So I
Yeah.
can see, and I mean, I've only been living here for 2 years. I can imagine that this has been going on for a lot longer.
Oh yeah.
And so, the people are fed up with it. And it goes back to, what I was talking about in terms of our role models and what
Yeah.
these people are seeing. All our kids are seeing in the papers and every day are these politicians, in the news, and maybe we need to start trying to remove them from the public
Yeah.
eye and start putting, other people in there who are actually going to inspire
Yeah.
and give these kids hope and be that role model for these kids.
I get what you're trying, and then there's a few areas where, like again, social media would help, and there's probably one of the reasons why I started doing one of these podcasts was to sort of give people something positive to look at. But it's really hard because the voices on the negative side are really big.
Yeah, they are.
And
They are.
there's a lot.
And they're the ones that get the most support.
Yeah.
Right? The most clicks on Facebook
Yeah.
or Instagram are the negative comments or opinions about a certain event or so there have been a couple of stories that I've come across on LinkedIn and stuff that I've liked and I've tried to repost, and there was this beautiful story I heard about this guy in Hela, and he was been in a gang since he was 11, right? And then USAID put some money into that area in terms of the agriculture,
Yeah.
on the agricultural side of things. And here is a guy, a gang member, and he'd been in this environment for 15 years, and I can't remember what the I guess the defining moment was when he decided that he wanted to change his life,
Yeah.
but he did, and he now has a little farm that he farms himself, and he's trying to encourage the people around him to do the same. And I'm like, this guy needs to be heard.
Yeah.
People need to hear what he's been through and how he got himself out of it, because that's the exact situation that will relate to so many
So
of
many
our
people,
youth
yeah.
out there. And if he can do it, there's no
Anyone,
excuses why these other kids can't.
But you see, stories like that will not, our media would not put it on front page.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, the mainstream media won't.
Yeah, mainstream media. won't.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the beauty of social media now. You don't need to be mainstream media to have an opinion.
True.
So, mate, there's your opportunity.
Yeah.
Find these stories, put them out there.
Yeah, that's why we have this conversation.
Yeah. And look, and it all
Well,
starts with the conversation. It's all about awareness.
Yeah.
Right? The more people that talk about it, the
Yeah.
more it gets out there.
Yeah.
And that's it. And, I guess part of me coming back to PNG is, not only trying to work things out for myself,
Yeah.
but I also have this, this underlying sense of giving back. It was all me coming up. It was yes to bring my family up,
Yeah.
to expose my kids to Port Moresby, to Papua New Guinea, to Hanawabara, to Hula, and so they can get a real feel of what it actually is. But it's also on the other side of that, or next to that, it's creating opportunities. I said I'm passionate about our youth, and it's about trying to provide opportunities for them, whether it's through sport. I look at my employer who I'm with, Rusman, and I'm business development, so I'm bringing money in. And if I can bring money into the company, we're able to grow. We can give more opportunities for local staff to come on board. So I can help in that way. The Firelight Sevens, I'm an ambassador for the CRU actually. And so helping them with whatever initiatives they have, CRUJ, putting my time and effort into that. And so, it's going to be, there's no overnight fix for it. It's going to be a long journey.
Yeah.
But, I find people like you, I find people like Jordan, and it's these like-minded people who have the same genuine intentions to make this place better, who I just love to sit down, who I love to talk to, and, and together I believe we can really make a difference.
Yeah. But it's not gonna be easy.
Hey?
It's not gonna be easy.
Oh, no, hell no.
It's gonna be really,
Yeah.
really. And we might not even see the fruits of it Probably the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We may not, but you'll never know if you don't give it a crack.
Yeah.
That's the
As long
thing.
as you help one person, I'm good at that.
Yeah. And I think that's the, something that I learned over my 12 years as a rugby player is you're just going to give it a crack.
Yeah.
Leave no stone unturned.
True.
And you explore every possible way that you see to try and get to where you want to be, right?
Yeah.
And no matter what, I had 2 ACL reconstructions when I was 19, when I was 21.
Mate!
I had a ruptured pec when I was 23. I had 6 hamstring tears when I was 22. And so from 19 to 23, I played 12 games of rugby in 4 years. And I still, so at the start I spoke about those years.
Yeah.
I played 12 rugby games, but it was a period of time where I just learned so much about myself.
Resilient, bro. You're really
Yeah,
resilient.
and so that's what, you come across one barrier, all right, that's fine. You work hard, you find another way, and you keep finding ways. And that period of time that I spent, those 4 years, I just kept finding ways. I got told, after my first knee reconstruction as a 19-year-old, we had a new Reds coach come in, he was like, oh, I'm not going to sign you, you've just done your knee. I was 19, not getting my contract re-signed. I was like, man, what am I going to do? Because it's not like I can play and go get a contract elsewhere. But I was like, concentrate on my rehab, I'll find a way. We had a new coach come in, he came in, had a chat to me. He was like, oh yeah, I like you, I'll give you another shot. So I got a contract, did my knee the following year, did my other knee. I was out again, but
Push through.
but I never let it
Put
get
you
me.
down.
Yeah. I never let it beat me.
Yeah.
I never let it beat me. There were times where I wanted it to.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm done. I'm just going to go finish my degree. I'm going to go, I can see all my friends there working. I'm just going to go do that.
What changed your mind?
I don't know, man. I'm not a quitter.
Yeah.
I'm not a quitter. Like, that was the easy option. And then I'd wake up and be like, man, what's wrong with you? Get back on the horse. Do whatever you need to do in rehab, and you get back out on the field. Because this is what you're meant to be doing. If it was easy, everyone would do it. Yeah. Anything that's worth it is always going to be the harder route.
True. Man, that's good.
No easy options.
No
easy options.
Right, you gotta start a podcast. No lie, you gotta start a podcast.
Man, maybe we call it no easy options, huh?
It's cool.
Or no easy way out, or something like
easy
that.
way.
Yeah.
No easy options.
So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a hard road, and I think one important thing is knowing that, like, I'm not gonna be able to do it all myself.
Yeah.
And you connect with people who have the same intentions and want to deliver the same things, and you all make it work together.
True. All right, thank you. I'm gonna put a pin in this one. It's a really
worries,
good
Matthias.
brief conversation.
Yeah, it's an introduction.
It's an introduction, yes. Introduction for sure. Honestly, thank you.